Pursuant to the election on January 11, 2016 of Anthony Rendon for the office of Speaker, I'm appointing a select committee on escort to bring Speaker-elect Rendon, his spouse, Annie Lamb, and his parents, Tom and Gloria Rendon, to the rostrum. Members should retire to the rear of chambers as I call your name. Assembly members Calderon, Assembly member Chow, Assembly member Daly, Assembly member Gonzalez, Assembly members Medina and Salas. The members will now escort Speaker-elect Rendon and his family to the rostrum. It is my pleasure to administer the oath of office to Speaker-elect Anthony Rendon. Assisting in the administration of the oath is his family. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Anthony Rendon, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, esteemed guests, I am pleased to present to you the 70th Speaker of the California State Assembly, the Honorable Speaker Anthony Rendon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to start today by picking up where I left off after my election in June. January. It was in January. I remember by thanking my wife, Annie. Today is a special day for us both, and it's made even more special by the fact that we get to share it with our families. Between us, we have 4 sisters, 3 brothers, 7 nephews. We had 6 nephews last week. Now we have 7. 3 nieces, and 6 men and women who decided to marry into it all. And you know what? They're nearly all here today. In that vein, it's important for me to point out the first time that I ever witnessed the swearing in of a speaker. It was just over 6 years ago when my good friend and the man who would later perform our wedding ceremony, John A. Perez, was sworn in on March 1st, 2010. He stood here, and I sat there, way up there, in the back. One of the first things John did on that day was to acknowledge a slight sense of emptiness and to comment on the bittersweet fact that his parents were no longer alive to share the moment with him. Neither Annie nor I take for granted how lucky we are that our parents are not only living, but that they are also here in the chamber with us today. To be able to share today with both of our moms and both of our dads means the world to us, and we thank them for all they've done for us and for our families. I also want to thank the governor, constitutional officers, the Senate Pro Tem, and other dignitaries and elected officials for being here today. To my family and friends, you honor me. You honor me not only by your presence here today, but also because of what you mean in my life. Thank you. To the former speakers who are here today, thank you for your goodwill and all the guidance that you've provided. Speaker Atkins, thank you for the honor of swearing me in. That is only the latest gracious act that you have performed during this transition. Thank you as well for your commitment to progressive values and for the empowering way that you have led this House. To our Republican leader, Chad Mays, thank you again for your devotion to our state. Thank you for your friendship, and thank you for the candid and constructive conversations that we've had thus far. I know that all of the goodwill between us will continue at least until the next legislative softball game, when we will destroy you again. Threw down that gauntlet, didn't I? Thank you, Chad. Thank you. I also want to thank my staff, both past and present, for all that they've done. Neither my staff nor Assembly staff in general can really be thanked enough for their efforts in making this House run and for ensuring that all of us look good and smart. Capitol staffers will always have an ally in me and an advocate in Annie, who herself was a staffer in this building for 5 years. We know how this place works, and we know that it can't work without you, so thank you. This is one of those days after which Annie and I will sit back and ask ourselves, how the hell did that happen? It seems like Annie and I are constantly pinching ourselves and wondering how we ended up in so many of the places that we've ended up lately. It doesn't quite make sense that either of us should be here. And quite honestly, neither of us was really supposed to be here. By now, most of you know my story. I was a terrible high school student, terrible college student at first, too. And were it not for California's high-quality, low-cost university system, I would not be here today. In those rare instances when I was able to land a job, I worked in the graveyard shift in a series of factories and warehouses, always trying to find a way to save enough money to pay my way through school, always watching other people get off the bus, excited about their day at college. That's my story. Quite honestly, I've really grown tired of telling it. But I don't believe that any of you know Annie's story. Annie is the daughter of hardworking immigrants who fled one country because of war and fled another because they weren't wanted there. While most kids her age were playing, Annie was working in the fields, not far from here, picking fruit. She continued to work in the fields straight through high school. Her parents always worked hard at multiple jobs, and while they did, she cooked and cleaned and took care of house chores. Neither Annie nor I were born with much, but we worked hard, and somehow we ended up here. But we also had a lot of help. We had help not just from neighbors and family, but we had help from California, a state that invested not only in us, but also in millions just like us. It was California that helped us to get here, and it's to this state to which we are indebted. Annie and I benefited from California. We benefited from its public housing projects and its low-income home loan programs. We benefited from its food stamps and its free meal programs. We benefited from this state's English as a second language and its diversity programs. We benefited from its unemployment assistance, and yes, we benefited from this state's affirmative action programs. We also benefited from California's great public schools and universities and their financial aid. And we benefited from access to its public parks, its beaches, its mountains, its forests, and its coast. We benefited from the generosity of a state that promised to never turn its back on us, and it never did. That's how we made it here. That's our story. We made it here because California enabled us to get here, and because California wanted us here. I know many of you have similar stories. When we all reflect on how did we get here, we also need to be thoughtful about what we are doing to enable others to get here as well. Colleagues, in the years that we have left in this chamber, we will each have the opportunity to pay California back for all that it has provided. When I spoke in January, I said that the voters extending term limits has great potential to change how we do business. Voters put their faith in us to do more and to do better. Here's how I see my part in our effort. First of all, I'm not going to carry any bills this year. Instead, much of my energy will be spent helping the Assembly operate with as much efficiency and collegiality as possible. And I want each of you to achieve the best and the most for the people that you represent. We won't always agree on issues or approaches, but I believe everyone here deserves an environment where they can advocate forcefully for their ideas and their constituents. Despite not authoring legislation myself, I will continue fighting for the needs of my district and for what I believe in. My primary task will be one of focusing and framing. In the effort ahead, there are 3 areas in particular we should focus on: poverty, oversight, and participation. Poverty. The single biggest shadow on the Golden State is the number of children we have living in poverty. Almost 2.5 million children in the greatest state, in the most powerful nation on this planet, are right now living in poverty. That's unacceptable. We need to make investments and provide opportunities that lift California families out of poverty and give all of our children a better chance. Oversight. In my first year of this House, I demanded that the State Parks Department be held accountable to California's taxpayers. Last year, in oversight hearing after oversight hearing, and in press release after press release, I demanded that the PUC be held accountable to ratepayers. So my own experiences has shown me that we must continue to demand that this state's departments and units be held accountable, and it's our duty to ensure they are. We must also remember the need for oversight doesn't just apply to laws and other institutions, but to this legislature itself. We must always be accountable to the taxpayers, to the voters, each other, and ourselves. Participation. I believe that this state and this body must focus on participation and on ensuring that Californians are engaged in our democracy. In my first effort at elected office, I received 8,700 votes in a district of 500,000 people. It was hard for me to really consider that a win in 2012. And I think we need to do more to make sure that Californians are involved, especially in communities where the needs are great, but the engagement hasn't been. One way, of course, is to get barriers out of voters' way. We're making progress, and last year's automatic registration bill will help. And when there's an ongoing campaign across this country to keep people from voting, we must continue to fight for the voting rights of every Californian. We also have to step up and give people something to vote for, real actions that make real differences in real lives. Because of our state, because of its size, the scope of our challenges, there can be a tendency in the Capitol for us to think in the abstract. We have to remember that what we do here isn't just about policies or programs. It's about real people and the struggles that they face every single day. Like some of my constituents who have water they can't drink and yards their kids can't play in, and constituents in your district who haven't felt the economic recovery the way others have, or who are fighting the ravages caused by years of drought, or who are living day to day with no roof over their heads. Different struggles, one state. Colleagues, this year marks the 50th anniversary of California voters putting the state in the hands of a full-time legislature. And looking around this chamber, I can say that it's in good hands. Teachers' hands, farmers' hands, inventors' hands, hands that nurtured, hands that put on the uniform of our nation's military. Today I raise my hand to take the oath to serve as your speaker. One day, that oath may be taken by one of you sitting way up there. And one day, it may be taken by some other Californian who right now is riding a bus or picking fruit in a field. Someone who will benefit from the work we do to enable them, believe in them, and invest in them. Thank you.
Without objection, the remarks and proceedings related to the special order of business shall be printed in the Journal. The session schedule is as follows. Tuesday, March 8th, floor session at 3:45 p.m. for the Chief Justice State of the Judiciary Address. Wednesday, March 9th, check-in session. Thursday, March 10th, floor session at 9 a.m. This concludes our business on the daily file. All other items remaining shall be passed and retained. All motions shall be continued. Seeing and hearing no further business, I'm ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Holden moves. Mr. Mays seconds. This House stands adjourned until 3:45 on March 8th. Quorum call is lifted.